we're going to
Okay.
go ahead and go live.
Okay.
Hey, friends. So excited you are here with me and my special guest today. My name is Joshua Arid, and I'm excited about meeting our friend Peanut that we have with us today. And so, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to introduce my special friend, and she'll show Peanut in just a little bit. But I'd love to welcome, and if you guys can put your hands together for Miss Erica. She is a naturalist from Great Plains Nature Center. And so we are super excited to have her. We would absolutely love if you dropped in the chat where you are from. So if you have a school that you're watching from, go ahead and drop that in the chat. We would love to know the school and the location. And even if you want to include how many friends are with you, that would also be great. All right, Erica, over to you.
All right. Hello, everyone. So I work at the Great Plains Nature Center. If any of you have not been here before, I like to describe us as a mini zoo slash museum because we do have live animals here. We just don't have as big of animals as the zoo. So we don't have like, the elephants and the lions, but we do have some pretty cool animals here. One of them today you'll get to see. She is our only marsupial here in the North America and the only mammal here at the Nature Center. So we are going to get to talk a little bit more about her and her species before we get to actually introduce our little friend Peanut here. So let me see if I can share this with everybody.
Yeah, Erica, while you're pulling that up, yeah, see if you can pull that up. I haven't. Erica
Yeah.
was going to send me over a special presentation that she has. I haven't gotten that yet, but no fear. We will get that ironed out. So, Erica, are you able to share with us today? Or is it
Um,
still loading?
yeah, it's still saying it's loading, but okay. I'm about to send it to you, Josh.
All right. So while you're doing that, I just want to know, is there anything new happening, or like what's your favorite part of Great Plains Nature Center for our friends that haven't been there? Like
The,
what's your favorite part? Like one of mine, can I share first,
yeah,
Erica? Is that okay?
yeah, for
Like
sure.
I love being able to see the bees. Like they come
Oh,
in and you can kind of see the bees and everything that they're doing. That's one of my favorite spots. So what about you?
yeah, so speaking of the bees, we actually just took the bees out and we're kind of seeing if we got any honey this year. Unfortunately, we didn't get very much. We got like a little amount of honey, so we aren't able to harvest that at all. But it was a pretty cool experience. I didn't know a lot of the information that I learned that day about the bees and how there's so many different unique concepts that go into being a bee and how they make their hives and the honeycomb, and it was pretty intense. But my favorite thing I think about this place is that you actually get to see the animals we have here up close, like face to face, where at the zoo you might not be able to get to have that experience. It's like you're seeing them but you're not able to like be touching distance. So I like that we have so many different turtles here. And this possum that we have, she's only about a few months old, so we're going to get to see how small she is compared to our previous possum that we had. Her name was Blossom. She recently just passed away. um, so we have this new one. She had kind of the same backstory as Blossom did, and her mom was actually killed in an accident, so she was able to survive in her pouch. So we were able to kind of rehabilitate her and help her grow. Okay, so I saw that you haven't gotten the email yet, but that's okay. We can go ahead and just kind of talk about Peanut and all the cool things about her. Just scared her. So I'm gonna change the camera onto this little girl. She's trying to escape. So this is our new possum. Her name is Peanut. She's only about 4 or 5 months old. We got her when she was just like half this size, really. She's so curious. So as you can see that she's really sniffing out this camera. She's like, what is this in my face? So possums, they really don't have the best of eyesight. So they have to rely on their noses to kind of find some food. So we're gonna see if she'll eat this apple. So you saw that she used her little paws to kind of put it in her mouth. So she does have what humans have, like opposable thumbs. And what's cool about possums is that on their back little feety there, she has this round little thumb-like thing on her foot right there. Can you see it, Josh? Yeah.
Yes, we can see that, and I was gonna pass on that I did get the PowerPoint. So it was awesome to see uh, Peanut there, and I told everyone to say hi to Peanut. So just giving you that, so I can pull that up whenever you're
Okay.
ready. But
Cool.
I know that so many people are
I know.
excited to
Don't
see that.
worry, you
So
guys.
we'll bring her back.
Yeah.
All right.
In there. Stay.
Okay, so that is up there. We have, of course, our. I'm not sure if you're able to see it, but we have the first slide, awesome possums, and so we're ready to get going.
Okay. So yeah, we're going to be talking about how awesome our possums are. You can go ahead and hit. Yes, so this is so we're first going to talk about them as babies and how they start off in their life. So like you can see, they look pretty similar to what they would look like as an adult, just smaller size and with those big old ears. You can go ahead. Just a few more pictures of how cute they can really be. All right. So as babies, they are really similar to what we know as kangaroos and koalas. And so they kind of have similar life cycles as those kind of animals, except the cool thing is that possums are the only marsupial here in North America. So we don't ever really see kangaroos or koalas here in the Great Plains or anywhere in North America, except maybe at like a zoo or Tanganyika, something like that. But we here at the Nature Center only have Great Plains native animals here. So the possum is like the kangaroo where they have pouches, so the babies can kind of stay in there to kind of develop and grow until they're big enough to be able to hop outside of that pouch and, you know, move along with their mom. So in the next slide, you'll see kind of a video of this possum with the mom's pouch. You'll get to see a kind of a close up. She is a little scared right now in this video, but The biggest thing I want you to take away is that you can see that little baby arm and their tail. So what's cool about the mom possums and their pouches is that they can actually hold about 13 to 20 babies in that pouch. So there's about 13 babies living in that pouch. So in the next slide, you'll see how big they are when they're first born. So they are really small. They're like the size of a jelly bean when they first are born. So when they're born, they have to make their way to the pouch. So when they get into the pouch, they kind of lock onto those little teats that you see, kind of attached to their mouths. So that's where they get their milk and all the nutrition that they need to get bigger and grow. Yeah. So you see they're kind of moving. They look like little aliens at first, but you can see that there are a ton of little babies in that pouch. So it is very big in there. Even though it doesn't look like it, there is a lot of space in there for them to kind of get big and grow. And then eventually they'll get bigger and they'll be able to just hop out of their mom's pouch. But you can see in this picture that this mama is pretty pregnant. She's probably got a lot of babies in there. So if you ever see a possum running across the street like this, you know that she's got some babies in there. Yeah, so this is a little video. You'll see all those babies. They're hanging on to the mama. So once they get to be about this size, they'll be able to, live outside of the pouch. And then they kind of hang on to mom's back until they're big enough to be able to survive on their own, pretty much. What do you think happens if one of those babies, falls off of the mom? Do you think she'll go back and kind of pick them up and put them back on her back?
Erica, that's a great question. So I'm curious if any of our friends out there have predictions of
Yeah.
what can happen. Um, as I'm looking at this, this is quite the load. Like
Yeah.
how much do each of those? I know you'd be guessing, right? But how much do each of those little ones weigh? And so again, while we're talking about this, let us know about what you think would happen. So how much would these
Yeah. So
weigh?
I'm gonna guess maybe like 1 or 2 pounds at
Okay.
least. But again, that's like 13 babies times 2 pounds. So the mom has to be pretty strong to be able to make her way across like the street with her babies all on her back.
Yeah, absolutely. So
Like
that's
on her face.
I know, right? They're climbing all over.
Yeah,
So absolutely, yeah. There's a little math involved, right? So
yeah,
13 times two. I know at our grade levels, you may not be doing multiplication, but your teacher can help you with that.
yeah.
So, Kinder's at Riverside. Their prediction, and maybe we'll have a couple others, but Kinder's at Riverside. They really think yes. Mama would go back and pick up the baby. Now, a couple of others are coming in. Um, let's see here. Another question while we're waiting for some of those predictions come in is what is the average size of the mom possum there? So that would help us if the babies are 2 pounds. Um, then what would be that adult?
The adult size is about like 8 to 10 pounds, I would say. Blossom got pretty. She was probably on the lower side of the size, but the possum that's over at the Kansas Wildlife Exhibit, her name is Pokey, and she is definitely well fed and kind of holds on to all of her food that she tends to get, and she is definitely on the heavier side. I think I would say.
So how many pounds do you think?
I think maybe 8 to 10.
Okay. All
Yeah,
right. So that is a pretty heavy load then,
yeah.
compared to. So another prediction, if one fell off, that they may get hurt, and they may be upset, and mom may have to go back. Um, think the babies, now over at Lincoln Elementary, their prediction is the babies would have to run and get back up, but the mom would stop. So those are a couple predictions. Um, let us know. We're
Yeah.
ready,
So
Erica.
that
We want to know
last,
the answer.
yeah, so the last guess I think is probably the most accurate, I think, because the moms, unfortunately, they do not go back for their babies. If one falls off, they're kind of on their own. So yeah, so the last guess, I think, if they were able to, the baby was able to, run back and catch up with the rest of the family, they'd be okay. But if so, there's so many babies on her back, and like the one on her face, she might not even realize that one had fallen off. And that is sometimes that's the case around here. We get a lot of phone calls that people have, found some baby possums and they don't know what to do, and if we can bring them in. And so unfortunately, if you happen to find a baby possum, you kind of, I mean, you kind of have to leave it alone and let it, survive on its own. Because we don't want to, like, say you should take it in, because then that would be saying you're taking a wild animal and bringing it in as a pet. And once you do that, if you start, giving it milk and providing all the nutrients and shelter that it needs, it's not going to want to go back into the wild, because it's like, I have it good here, so why leave? So we don't want to ever tell people to, take the babies that they find and shelter them as pets. That is never our mission here at the Nature Center. We were just fortunate enough to happen to be able to get Peanut after our previous possum had passed away. But yeah, unfortunately, they're kind of stuck on their own. Mama doesn't come back and help them and recover their little babies, which is kind of sad, but
Yeah,
that
obviously we want
that's
to, leave
nature.
wild animals to the
Yeah,
wild, and there's obviously pet stores for
right,
animals that we want to be to have pets as we
right.
go through. So here is again some more pictures. I know a question came in,
Maybe.
how many can they hold, and I guess that would just vary
Yeah,
as we go through here, how many they could hold. As they get bigger, I would assume they would start to walk on their own.
right. So at the, when they're able to kind of latch onto mama's back, that is kind of their time to be able to actually survive on their own. The only time they really wouldn't be able to survive is if they were still living in that pouch and, haven't really seen the world yet. So these pictures right here, if one of those babies dropped off, I think they would be okay. They would kind of already learned some things from their mom to figure out how to survive and everything like that. So that size possum, I think they would be in pretty good shape. So like in this picture, you can kind of see that, they're pretty small, but they've gotten all that fur and all their growth and development kind of started already, so they should be good to be on their own. So what kind of things, before we go to the next one, is what do you think that possums might eat out in the wild?
Yeah, so that's a great question. Teachers, you can of course survey your kiddos about what they eat, and we even gave you a clue. I went to the next slide real quick, so maybe you picked up on that. I was trying to see if there was any other questions um, that came in. as
Yeah.
we go through. But it looks like we're done there. Now, I guess a question that I'll ask as those results are coming in
Yeah.
is two questions. How long does it take for them to like get this size, right? So how old is the possum here?
So it takes them, that possum in this picture probably would be about like 2 months.
Okay.
So 2 months is really when the baby is able to kind of survive on its own. And so it'll crawl out of the pouch and kind of latch onto the mom's back, but really they would be able to survive on their own at 2 months.
2 months.
So
Okay.
yeah. So
Yeah.
really it takes 13 days to develop or to be born. So you know how humans, it takes us not about 9 months to have a baby. It'll only take 13 days for the mom to have all those babies. And then, so like I said, they come out as those little jelly beans, and then they make their way into the pouch, and then they'll take the rest of that time up until they reach that 2 month period, and develop in that pouch. And then, 3 to 4 months, which is, like I said about how old Peanut is, they're able to really fend for themselves. So she would be able to survive out on her own.
Awesome. So we got lots of guesses coming in here. Um, we have some guesses. They eat apples and bananas is one guess. Mrs. Lang's class, we think they eat mice or bugs. Mrs. Rice's class thinks maybe carrots and even maybe some like baby reptiles, something like that, maybe. Flowers and berries are also on there. They're also thinking plants. Um, and yeah, so fruits and berries and plants. So we got lots of guesses coming in here about what they would eat.
Those are all great guesses. So yes, they do eat both plants and berries, and also they eat a lot of insects. So if you skip the next one and go to the two slides over, you'll see that the next one. So they do eat insects and bugs and all that. So specifically, in this picture, these are ticks. So I'm sure everyone will agree with me that no one likes ticks, and they could just, if they just disappeared on the face of the earth, we would all be okay with that. But thankfully, we have the opossums, and they love ticks. They can eat about 500 a day. So if they can eat all the ticks they want, as long as they don't, happen to fall on my body. And I think little ticks, they're like little vampires. So it is really good to have possums around so they can eat all those ticks up. And in this video, they're eating bananas, so they do love fruit. So they have about 52 teeth in their mouth. So we only have about, when we're grown adults and we get our adult teeth, we only have about 32 teeth. So they have 20 extra teeth compared to us. So that's a lot of teeth chomping down. So we can go ahead and stop with the PowerPoint now, kind of explain the next couple slides by showing Peanut here. So you can go ahead and stop the PowerPoint.
Yep,
So,
we're seeing Peanut now.
So Peanut here, she's eating an apple. So when she gets scared, she has a few different things she might do when she's scared. So first thing she'll do is she'll kind of hiss at us, and she'll be like, and show her all her teeth and open her mouth really wide. and she thinks that'll really scare us away. But we know she's just as gentle as can be. So we're not going to be too scared of her teeth there. So the next thing she'll end up doing is kind of playing dead. So if any of you have ever heard the term play possum, that is really what she does. She gets so scared that she'll actually, freeze up and actually play dead. So it's an involuntary action. So she gets so scared, her body just kind of freezes. She can't move at all, and she'll, end up falling over, and she kind of lets off this nasty smell, and it almost smells like she's, decaying or rotting like a dead animal, would be. So that is a good defense mechanism because most animals, they don't really want to eat a dead possum. They would rather, have it fresh. So once she feels like that threat has gone away, her body takes a few minutes to kind of recoup and get that energy back to where she's not so stiff and frozen. And so when she feels like the threat has gone away, she can just get up and, go about her day, the rest of her day. So if you notice her big old ears there, she has to really grow into her ears right now. They don't have any fur. So during the winter time, when it gets, so Kansas, it gets really cold, right? So when it gets cold like that, she doesn't have any fur to be able to protect her little ears. So sometimes her ears, they'll get frostbite. So, which is kind of sad, like part of her ears might fall off because they get frostbite. So that is one downfall for not having so much fur on her ears. And then with her tail, that can happen also. At the end of her tail, she could get some frostbite there too. So she has to be really careful with where she kind of um, makes her home. If she were to live out in the wild, possums, they have to be really careful about where they kind of spend their time out in the wild during the winter time because they don't really migrate. Okay, you can have the egg. This is her favorite part. So possums, they don't really migrate, so they don't really go down to like, a warmer state. They have to stay here and kind of work through the winter time. So they have to find the warmest place, whether it's in a tree or in an old birdhouse, anything that could get them through the winter, really. So she uses her tongue a lot to kind of get that food in her mouth.
We had another good question come in. As they get older, and of course, you're talking about kind of adult life, does their eyesight improve, and how do they improve it all as they get older? And then, how do they move around? And that probably will be our last answer for today, and we'll have to say goodbye to Peanut because our time is almost up.
Okay, those are two good questions, you guys. So really her eyesight right now is probably the best she'll get. When she gets older, it doesn't get any better. So that's why she really has to rely on her nose, and we have to really kind of give her some challenges to be able to find her food because her nose is the biggest sense that she's able to use to be able to survive and get bigger and grow. What was the second question?
Yeah, so how do they move around? So
Oh,
how would they find those eggs and how would they find those berries and ticks as they're going throughout the day? Or
um,
actually night, right?
yeah. So, yeah, I forgot to mention that possums are actually nocturnal, which means they find most of their food during the nighttime. which is good for them because they can't see very well. So you may think, oh, how are they going to get around in the nighttime? But because there are less predators out during the nighttime, that's why they tend to find more of their food with their sense of smell, and they can crawl up trees using their feet and their opposable thumbs to kind of keep them hanging on the tree, as well as their tail is actually a fifth arm for them. So you can see that her tail kind of wrapped around my finger there. She uses her tail to kind of hold on to things as she's crawling. So they're pretty unique little creatures we have here in the Great Plains. Those were good questions.
Yeah, absolutely. I didn't know that about the tail, so that acts almost as another arm as they're getting around. And of
Right.
course, I've seen the pictures where they're hanging right with the tail.
Yeah.
So, all right, Erica, this has been a fun event for us today, and I know we have more planned. So everyone say goodbye to Peanut. All right, wave bye to Peanut. And then we'll also wave bye to Miss Erica. Miss Erica, thank you so
All
much for bringing
right.
Peanut
Thanks,
to us today.
guys. See
All
y'all
right.
later.
Yeah, everyone, check out our other events that we have today, and thank you so much for joining today.